Hello everybody, Lawrence Fleming here. I'm going to do a little bit of covering some news items around the world, and then we'll get into some scriptures. I have to touch on some of this stuff because it kind of points to the time that we're in, and I don't want anybody to be afraid. As I've mentioned before, there's a phrase used 365 days, or 365 times, which you can use for every day. It says, do not be afraid. So it's a focus. The Bible serves us two purposes, telling us about God and how to be like Jesus, and then to assure us that God knows what he's doing, don't be afraid. Okay, this is kind of minor, it appears, but yet it isn't. The earth normally rotates in 24 hours. We've broken it up so that we have exactly 24 hours. And all the computers and clocks and everything, GPS, everything runs off of this. Well, it's happened before, but it's been a little while, but it just happened again on the 29th. It was less than 24 hours. Now, it was only a millisecond or so. It wasn't very long, but that's long enough that when they have to shorten that 24-hour period, all the other computers don't know what to do with that time because they're already set up for the exact 24 hours. The last time it happened, social media sites went down, all kinds of trouble. It doesn't take much. So why is the earth doing this? Well, the climate people, they'll say it's our fault, we're killing the planet, it's because the polar caps are melting, which they aren't. And therefore it's changing the balance of the earth, which it isn't. We do know that the magnetic pole, which is a hot spot basically in the earth, it is moving. The magnetic pole is not where true north is. It may have been at one time, but since the earth has a wobble to it, it's kind of throwing things inside the earth off a little bit, and they can move around. We should be spinning true, but if we were spinning true, we wouldn't have our seasons, our weather patterns, all this stuff. So it's prone to have problems. We've been told that the Earth is the sun is in another active phase, and that there have been solar flares coming out. If one comes directly at the Earth, it will disrupt everything going on. Another thing that's going on is we have China. Well, they had to show a show of force because they opened their mouth and said that if you do anything with Pelosi in Taiwan, we're going to really get mad. Well, they're lining up all their Indians and they're circling the wagons. Nobody's firing a shot, they're just circling. As long as that's all they do, they're not going to intimidate anybody. Yeah, they have a large army. Large armies don't survive under technology, under bombs. A 200 million man army, you could take them out with one bomb if they're all gathered together. The problem that we have with war, and it's what we saw in Vietnam and what we hopefully won't get into anymore, and the same problem with Afghanistan, if the territory is wooded or too rough or there's caves all over the place, people can't, they can hide and you can't find them. They pop out and shoot at you and then they go back in their hidey hole. That's kind of a hard war. If they're going to try to take on Taiwan, what are they going to do? If they were to nuke the whole island, there'd be nothing left. They'd own a heap of ash. That's not what they want. They want the business there because Taiwan is making a lot of money. Because Taiwan is not communist, we're working with them. They make a lot of our chips. So does China. But not as much as we would like. We're in the process of trying to pull that back. The one world government does not want rogue countries doing their own thing. They will deal with China and they will deal with Russia in time. The United States is their biggest rogue country, and we're in the process of collapsing. They're collapsing our country so that it won't be a rogue country anymore. If we do what they want, that's okay. But we can't do our own thing, which means we can't be the world's police force anymore, because that would mean we are in charge and they're not, and they don't like that. So that's why we're collapsing from within. They're doing it on purpose. Okay, let's see, what else do we have? Just a couple of quick notes on the shortening of the 24-hour time. Banks use that time to transfer money. What if there's a time where it's supposed to transfer, a half a second before a switch over to 0000, and that time doesn't happen? What are the computers going to do? Remember the panic that we had over the year 2000 switch over. It turned out to be nothing because we were alerted to it and we programmed a lot of that stuff into it. A lot of the numbering, a lot of the computers back then, we didn't use a 4-digit year. They only used a 2-digit year. If it was 1980, we just used an 80, because we knew that for almost 1,000 years there'd be a 19 in front of it, or 100 years. There'd be a 19 in front of it. The same thing with 2000. So when they got over to that, those that only used the 2-digit year had to modify their code. Sometimes they had to make changes in such a way that it was going around your back to get to your nose or something. It was crazy, but they did it. And most of the ones that were mainframe code that was legacy had to deal with it. The PCs, when they came out with those, they were created in 1989 basically, and IBM felt that they were short-lived. They wouldn't be around very long. Who wants a smart computer when you've got a mainframe? The mainframe mentality is the big government mentality. So they didn't think about it. Well, this could be some issues with it if it continues to get worse like it's doing. Keep an eye on that. Okay. A little bit of history here. Martin Luther challenged the church state, the original Catholic church state. They were getting into idol worship and all kinds of things, praying to the individual people of the Bible and not to Jesus. It's still wrong. You can't go to Mary for anything. God bless her for what she did, raising our Savior, but there's no accounting in the Bible about individuals having authority greater or equal to Jesus. General Catholics are okay. Like Billy Graham said, most are going to get to heaven. They just have a little extra baggage. But the Roman Catholics, I worry about. They're going to be surprised when they get to the end and they don't get accepted, because they've been doing idol worship. Okay. I was listening to Glenn Beck. He had the owner of a ammo supply company on. He was interviewing him, and the owner was saying that he's having trouble with his shipments, that he was using a major character, and I'm not going to mention their name. I don't even want to allude to them, but he says that they're using them for ship, and that 30% of their ammo shipments are just coming up missing, and they can't get a good answer back. Our government is not going to do something outright yet. They're getting close. They haven't completely taken over, but they're doing everything they can to make life miserable for those that want to do it right. They're cracking down on nomad campers who don't have an address that's legitimate. Most of us have been doing this. We do have a legitimate address. I have one. I choose to be out here. I'm recreating. That's my cover. And I have lived at that permanent address. I was there earlier this year. But I'm not there now. I'd rather be out here. The government's cracking down. He doesn't want independent thinkers, independent doers. As you can see, the sun is just coming up. It's hitting me in the side of the face. All right, let me see if I can move over a little bit so that I can see what I'm doing. The sun's glaring in my eyes here. We have people coming in their little where is it? There it is. There they are. They found their site. So they're going to be setting up here in a little bit. Might get a little noisy. I might have to stop this and go someplace to read my scriptures because they're right next door. I got out here early, but they were supposed to get here last night. No one's supposed to check in this early. Check-in time, like hotels or motels, is like 1 o'clock and check-out's at noon. They were supposed to be here last night, and it rained pretty good if you saw my picture earlier. All right, I'm going to kind of break it here because they're going to be setting up and it's going to get noisy. Okay, I'm back. I went a couple of more campsites over so that I can see them. There's a bunch of kids over there. They're going to be noisy. All right, let's see. What else do we have going on? You saw where the head of Hamas, the guy that worked with Osama bin Laden to set up 9/11, was assassinated. Now, that was a mosquito that just went by my ear. I don't like that. I didn't spray my bug repellent on before I left for this message. Okay, so if I start doing this a lot, that's why. Because it rained yesterday, we have a lot of bugs that like to come out in the high moisture of the morning. All right, so this leader was assassinated. Yes, it was the United States, but these terrorist groups that are over in the Middle East can't get to us as easily as they can Israel, so they're threatening to launch rockets at Israel right now. So we may see some of that coming up. You know, what they did a year or so ago, where they launched their 4,000 rockets. Well, I think they still have rockets down there. The ones that have the better rockets are on the north side. What is this? Come on, bugs. Satan, get out of here. Take your bugs with you. Okay, that is a mosquito. Last thing I want is bug bites. Okay, so we have that coming up. Let's see what else we got. There is a document, it's been out for a few months, that was leaked from the FBI. It's a document that's supposed to be sent out to law enforcement. And so technically we're not all supposed to see it, but somebody leaked it, and there's a copy of it going around. It's basically an alert to say what militia or extremists are going to look like, how to recognize them. What kind of symbolism? Are they flying the Betsy Ross flag? Are they saying certain key words? Are they doing certain things? They want to be able to identify all these people so that they can keep an eye on them. The last thing this country wants is patriots. And that's basically who these people are. If you're a prepper, you're on the list. They want to know where everybody's at that can cause trouble. You know, if we've still got our weapons and we've still got ammo, they might be able to shut off the current supply, but people have been stockpiling for some time because our government's been going downhill for some time. But they need to know where they're all at, so when it's time, they can round up guns and ammo. In Germany, before they took over, they went around and made everybody give up their weapons. And as soon as they did, boom, they were the hardball government that they ended up being. They talked softly and nicely. In Germany, they were buddy-buddy with the media until they got complete control. and then they took down all the private media and put up their own government media. They lie. That's the whole premise of Satan, is to lie, to get in and get power through lying, and then not do what they say they're going to do, and to do beyond what they say they're going to do. It's happening here. It's inevitable, because it's part of the end times, and the world does not see God, does not believe in God. They think they can fix anything by just throwing power and money at it. Well, you can't. Okay, so this document that's circulating, I don't really want to put it up. I don't really necessarily think that just do, I can tell you about it, but if I put it up, it might put me on a list. I don't really want that, so I got to be careful. But just know that if you're a good, God-fearing individual, if you're a patriot, you're hated by the current government. Hated. They won't hesitate to kill you once they have control. And all they got to do is declare martial law. They're waiting until they have things set up. They've already got things planned. But they've only been planning this for maybe 50 years or maybe a little more. God planned the entire universe. He knows everything from beginning to end, so they're not going to be able to pull one over on him. But this is their plan, their overthrow of the whole world, to put their one world government in. A one world government is a good idea, but run by God. We're going to get that for 1,000 years here coming up. He's going to show you how to do it right. They're in the process of showing us how to do it wrong. Okay, so let's look at some scriptures. I'm going to go to John 16:33. And here we go. Okay. Actually, I like to start at the beginning. This is Jesus speaking. Do you now believe? Indeed, the hour is coming. Yes, has now come, that you will be scattered, each to his own, and will leave me alone. And yet I will not be alone, because I have the Father is with me. So in 33, these things I have spoken to you, that in me you may have peace. In the world you will have tribulation, but be of good cheer, I have overcome the world. So for the first half of the week of Daniel, the 70th week, the first half, it says nowhere in the Bible can you prove to me that it's called the tribulation time frame. The whole 7 years. It's not. The only reference to tribulation is after the abomination, and it's got the great tribulation. The first half does not have a time frame for tribulation. But if you want to apply this verse to it, yes, okay, every day has tribulation in it. Some more so than others. And we're talking about the 1st and 2nd century of the church. The church was almost totally wiped out in the 1st and 2nd century, so they had tribulation. But it didn't work. Eventually we get Constantine in charge over there, who promotes Christianity to one of the favored religions so they could operate. But prior to that, they were almost destroyed. That's why we don't have any 1st century manuscripts. They destroyed everything. They had to do and I've mentioned this before, they had to do the Fahrenheit 451 Act. I don't know if you saw that movie. It's an old British sci-fi movie, but very telling, where the government was destroying books because they didn't want people thinking for themselves. Okay, let's go to Psalms 9, verse 9. Don't be afraid about anything going on. When I tell you all these things that are happening, this is just to let you know that we're in the end times and that they're continuing to make progress. At any time, things can kick off. 9:9. The Lord also will be a refuge for the oppressed, a refuge in times of trouble. And those who know your name will put their trust in you. For you, Lord, have not forsaken those who seek you. God is a refuge, place to hide. Psalm 23. You know that one. If you don't, go look it up. You should know that one. Okay, let's, and I mentioned that the phrase, do not be afraid, is 365 times in the Bible. You can use one verse a day. Okay, let's go to 1 John. I don't know why I didn't have that marked. 5:13. Next page. All the three books of John are very, very short. Okay. I'm going to go back to 14. A lot of these paragraph markings are okay. Some of them are wrong. They were put in by somebody who was just thought it was a good idea just to put paragraphs in so it'd be easier to read. But it wasn't. It was done by one person. It wasn't really done by a committee that understood everything. And they weren't numbered initially. They came back in and added numbers later on. So anyhow, but I always try to read at the beginning because they do get it right most of the time. There's a few where they totally messed it up. Okay, so 5:14. Now this is the confidence that we have in him, that if we ask anything according to his will, he hears us. And if we know that he hears us, whatever we ask, we know that we have the petitions that we ask for with him. If anyone sees his brother sinning and does not lead to death, he will ask, and he will give him life. And those who commit sin not leading to death, there is a sin leading to death. Okay. That wasn't really where I was going with that. The first part was asking and getting answer to prayer. There is a sin leading to death, but you basically have to just totally turn and become an advocate to the devil. You can claim to be a Christian whether you were or not. I sincerely doubt that you really were originally. Just saying the words is not going to save you. You have to believe the words. You know, when we ask for people to raise hands in church or to step forward and repeat after me or do this where you're seated or do this at home, it happens where it's legitimate, but you have to believe it. Without faith, you cannot please God. You have to have faith in Jesus to accept him. Just saying the words won't save you. You've got to truly believe. Okay, and then I want to do, was it 2 Peter 3:8. Okay, and it says, Beloved, do not forget this one thing, that with the Lord 1 day is as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is a day. The Lord is not slack concerning his promise, as some count slackness, but his long-suffering towards us, not willing that any should perish. If you're asking for him to end it now, you're asking for people to perish. Be careful. Ask for endurance. Ask for protection. Follow the simple survival techniques that are out there all over the place. I tell you to be prepping. We're doing this to help save lives. Yeah, it may be an inconvenience. Yeah, we'd all like to be out of here now. But who's not going to be saved if we get out of here now? We're getting close, very close. But tomorrow is the 9th of Av. It's a 2-day remembrance. That would be a good time to be raptured. I don't think that the 9th of Av in itself is a reason to be raptured. But something may happen on that date. Something has happened on that date repeatedly. The 2 temples were both destroyed on that day. I don't know if it's the 9th or the 9th and the 10th, but whatever, those 2 days, That starts tomorrow. It's the month of Av. It's not the month of August. Our camp hosts are out making their rounds, but I'm just about done. But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night. I'm just continuing on in 10. Which the heavens will pass away, and great noise, and the elements will melt in fervent heat. Both the earth and the works that are in will be burned up. Don't put up your treasures here on earth. They will be destroyed. But don't worry, the God that created this heaven and this earth is quite capable of creating another one, even better. We're going to get the new city of Jerusalem down here. And when we do get that new city, that's when we're going to get the wedding feast. I think the other parts of the story are correct about the Jewish wedding and the parallel to Christ being down here. But we're not going to go straight up to heaven to a wedding feast. That would be inappropriate. People dying down here, people suffering, and we're up there partying? No, I don't think so. That would not be right. That's not my God. There will be a wedding feast, but we don't have the entire population up there yet of Christians. We got to wait till the end. Revelation 21 talks about the New Jerusalem being ready and having a party up there. That's the wedding feast. It's when it's all over. And if you go to Revelation 22, Jesus says, I will be there soon. Well, we just saw that, he's not willing for anyone to die, so he's delaying for that reason. But you can only delay so long. And we're told everything that's going to happen after everything starts is going to just go like that. Over half the population of the earth is going to be killed. 4 billion thereabouts. Plus you take away 1 or 2 billion of Christians, it's going to be a major reduction in people. It's going to disrupt everything. Now, I hope to be in the first rapture, but there are 3. The first 2, well, the first one obviously is only dealing with what we're dealing with now. The second one, there are some seals before that, so it's not going to be an easy time. The final one is just to get everybody off the earth before he comes back to destroy the armies that are opposing him. And then he's going to put Satan in a holding pattern in hell for 1,000 years. Then he'll release him one more time and cast him into the lake of fire. Then he's going to judge the world. We don't have to worry as Christians. He's going to judge the world at the great white throne. Great white throne. Say that 20 times. And the ones that don't make it are going to join Satan. But there's one last chance at that throne that people can be saved. He's a loving God. He doesn't want anybody to be thrown into the lake of fire except for, and he really doesn't even want Satan to be thrown in there. He didn't create Satan to throw him into a lake of fire. He created him to be his best creation. But he made him too good. And Satan is an example of why we are in the image of God. Satan was created so perfect that his pride got the best of him. You can have pride as a being created by God. So it's something that we have to watch out for. Now, we have a sin nature because we're descendants of Abraham. There goes our camp host. They're looking after us here like God looks after us. They come around all the time making sure we're okay. God doesn't have to travel around in a little cart, though. He's omnipresent. But he's always checking on us, making sure we're okay. The Spirit reports to him, hey, so-and-so is wandering off. What should I do? Keep an eye on him. Make sure he doesn't get into trouble and try to coax him back. Get thy rod and thy staff, which are gentle, out there, and move that sheep back in the fold. If they won't listen, hit them over the head with it. I've got pole marks all over me growing up. As a reminder to not do that again. What time is it? The people are starting to start moving around. I can't see. When this is up, I can't see the time. Yeah. I'm coming up on my time to close this out. You have to know that things are happening around us. We don't know when we're going to get out of here. Barry Oz saying, this would be a great time for the 9th of Av. I don't know. Like I said, a Jewish holiday is not going to end our church age. There's going to be an event that could coincide with a Jewish holiday or event. And that would trigger, but just not the day itself. We are short, though. Our country here in the United States is on the verge of total collapse. They could push it over anytime they want. The president has the ability to declare a state of emergency at the drop of a hat. He refused to do that a couple weeks ago. They've got an itinerary that they're following, a plan that they're following. And I don't know who leaked that they were going to do that. But he chose not to. As soon as he does, he can declare martial law. They're probably looking at the election, trying to decide who's going to win and who's going to lose. I guarantee they're not going to let the election get away from them. They're not going to lose seats, or at least lose power. They might be willing to give up 1 or 2 seats, but they're not going to give up the power that they've got. They have the presidency, they have the Congress. They don't have the Supreme Court, but they're planning on working on that. Oh, I heard a funny one. Close on this. We're told to wear masks because of this big sea that's out there. And now the monkey is out there as well. Paper doesn't stop evil things. Our Constitution hasn't stopped evil things. So paper doesn't have the power to do that. So I thought that was a funny parallel. Okay. Be safe. Keep prepping. We don't know how far we're going to go. And if nothing more, if you're prepping and you've got a family member that's not going to make this first flight out, you want to make sure they're taken care of as well. But put tracks all over the food that you've stored away so they can't get away from them. Or they may run around and collect them all and throw them away, but that's going to be in their memory. They can't get rid of it. It's never our job to win anybody over. Our job is only to present the gospel. Spread the word. That's all our job is. Winning souls, that's entirely up to the Spirit. If that ground has not been tilled, if it's not ready to plant, you can't make it work. Try throwing seeds on a rock pile and making things work. Now, occasionally we see plants growing out of the rocks because soil has developed into the crevices and got caught down there. And so there's something to grow out of it. And that little bitty plant can split that big rock when it gets big enough. But in general, sower in the seeds, we know what all the conditions are, and there's only one that will work. If the Holy Spirit prepares the ground first. And you can't do it. So spread the word. Let's get these last few people, saved, because that's what he's waiting for. As soon as they're saved, we're out of here. So get out there, spread the word. There will be those saved after the rapture and after the start of all this stuff. But they may have to be martyred to be able to get to heaven. I wouldn't want that. So take the first bus out. And if you're in a city, just a couple bit of prepping news here. If you're in a city, all the preppers are saying you should already be out of the city. So I'm very grateful that my son and his wife moved out of San Francisco. Now they moved to the suburbs of Chicago, not in the city itself, but in the suburbs. And they've got some nice suburbs there. I used to go up there every year when I had my business. But if you're in the city and there's a major problem, all those people are going to be trying to figure out what to do. New York told everybody to get a bug-out bag. Can you imagine the island of New York all bailing at the same time? We've seen movies about that, where people are all trying to get out of town and they can't. You better be in good shape because you're going to have to run across the bridges to get out. Or take a boat or do something else, because all the freeways are going to be parking lots. And people are going to be doing anything they can. They're rammed into cars. They're shove people off the road. They will cause destruction on the freeway and basically block it. They don't care. These people are worldly people for the most part. Oh, there's Christians there. But frankly, if you're in the big city, you should be out already. Now, if you don't have that option, if you're tied to a job and you cannot get out, have a contingency plan. Where would you go if you could bug out? Have a place in the country someplace, knowing that there's going to be a lot of other people potentially going there as well. But at least have a bug out location. Keeping stores in your apartment or wherever you're at in the big city is not a good place. You want to have a certain amount there, yes. But all those people, when they get hungry, they will tear down everything looking for food. People will go crazy. And if you have some, it may not last long, and they will kill you to get it. So your main stores need to be outside the city. Have a relative that lives in the country, tell them if there's a problem, you're coming. And if they'll let you store stuff there, good. But have a plan. Now, still prep, but have a plan and split your prep between what you need to survive on until you can get out of the city, and then have a permanent storage someplace else. All right. Be safe. Look out for yourself. And have a first aid kit. Have a bug out bag and a first aid kit in your vehicle. And make sure they're carryable. You can put them on your back. A backpack would be good, because if you get to where you can't drive, you can pull out the backpack and put it on and keep walking. Now, what you want to put in your backpack are not canned goods. They can get very heavy. They're full of liquid. Water is roughly 7 pounds a gallon. It wouldn't take much to make that backpack too hard to carry, so you want to keep things in there like granola bars, things that you can pack in there. Take them out of their boxes and put them in a Ziploc bag so they pack easier. You should have some matches in case you need to make a fire. You might get cold out there. If you have to bug out in the winter, that would be a problem. Have rain gear in your car. I've got a jacket in my trunk right now, and it's 100 degrees out. But you don't know when things are going to happen. I don't want to have to think, did I put it there or did I not? All these things that you just basically can set up in advance. Because when it happens, it's going to happen fast. And you don't have time to think. You might even, if you got a family, you might even practice drilling. You know, what we do if it's a bug out. Everybody grab their bug out bag and let's go. Everybody should have their own. You need clothes, toiletries, but you need a duplicate of everything in the bug out bag. You don't have time to go grab your stuff and pack it. Have a duplicate. Toothbrushes are cheap. If you're going to a dentist on a regular basis, you're getting a new toothbrush every time you go. But they're also not expensive if you have to get one. Toothpaste, you know. Get the small tubes if you need to put it in your bug out bag. Everything else. Deodorant. I think everybody would be happy if you had that with you. They make small ones. I know that when I go to like Walmart or Target and stuff, they got these little minis of everything, shampoo and deodorant and everything. Put all those together in a little Ziploc bag and put it in your bug out bag. Have this ready, because you're probably going to have to use it if we're not out of here very, very quickly. Okay, tomorrow, like I said, is the 9th of August. That's Dr. Berry's best choice for a rapture. But we've got a few more. We got the rest of the month and a few more days after that it could also match on. But it could be any time. It could be tonight, even though tomorrow is the good day. It could be tonight. We don't know. So be ready now. All right. Till we meet in the clouds, God bless.